Parents' Rights in Education was conceived in 2009 and became a tax-deductible nonprofit in 2011. In May of 2019, PRE held its first soapbox event, America's Cultural Crisis. Should we stay or should we go? Author of Get Out Now was the keynote speaker. Mary Hassan's speech is featured on the PRE website. We decided to have another soapbox, May 2nd of the following year, 2020, featuring Walt Heyer, author of Trans Life Survivors. 7 weeks beforehand, Oregon Governor Kate Brown declared a state of emergency to control the spread of the China virus. During the following year, in response to repeated emergency shutdown restrictions, PRE rescheduled the event 4 times and changed the event venue 3. It was renamed the Northwest Safe Schools Summit, and more speakers were invited to present. The result was a day-long dive into the complex issues plaguing K-12 public schools. Because of the unrest and militant violent protests in Portland, Oregon, it was decided to move the location from the Portland airport to a venue in the suburbs. The venue owner was adamant PRE not advertise the exact location until 24 hours in advance, so as to avoid possible negative attention caused by detractors and protesters. We are thrilled to share these videos from the first Northwest Safe Schools Summit in the hopes you will be enlightened and empowered to take action. Please watch them in order, as there is a natural progression you won't want to miss. Paul Romero is a 1984 graduate from Crook County High School, Prineville, Oregon, where he participated in American Legion Boys State. Paul worked hard and put himself through college with a major in workforce education and development and a minor in mechanical engineering and mathematics. His public education without indoctrination served him well, as it should serve all children. A 10-year Navy enlisted man, Paul crossed Libya's line of death, traversed the Red Sea and Persian Gulf in support of Desert Shield and Desert Storm. Paul, now recently married, was a single father of 5, who are all no longer in public school.
Fly me to the moon, let me play among the oh wait, that's not karaoke night. I'm sorry. Flashback. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Paul Romero. I was a single father of 5, as you heard, and they're all out of public school. And in a way, I kind of thank God for that. That greatly reduced the problems and issues I had to deal with, but that does not abstain me from participating in fixing and helping other people's students. So, apparently I drew the short straw. Critical race theory. Ooh, I know, so scary. The poison conversion of racism and the antidote. I have to ask a few questions. Why must we have race as a category for all various forms we fill out? There are many reasons, but one basic one is just information that lends itself to statistics and categorizes us all. Your race should have nothing to do with anything that requires a filled out form. With a last name like Romero, along with my ancestry, I could mark white, Caucasian, Hispanic, and other. I wish they had a Cajun box, you know? Imagine all who've engaged in the genetic ancestry fad. They are all more categorized than you could possibly imagine. So, how might we pass judgment on a complete stranger? Perhaps how they dress, how they walk, how they speak? How about if somebody reminds you of someone else who wronged you earlier in life? Do you treat them as if they were that person? I hope not, because that would be wrong. We regularly engage our critical thinking to process, address, negate, and settle on many things in mere seconds. Sometimes we are right, and sometimes we are wrong. But does that make us racist? No. Unless you subscribe to critical race theory and you're trying to be part of the woke crowd as you blame everyone else to escape your own perceived guilt. I prefer to be aware and awakened crowd that's willing to have a conversation without the name calling, right? What gets you called a racist these days, besides everything? It seems everything now, since when did milk, sheet music, math, and being pro all lives matter become racist? It's lunacy without equal. I love milk. I love chocolate milk. Not too keen on strawberry milk unless it's a milkshake. I used to read music in choir. I love math. And I genuinely like people. Having traveled and lived in other countries was a great experience, providing an opportunity to meet an even more diverse list of people. It also helped me appreciate what we have here in America. And believe me, the world looks to us all the time. And they're quite disappointed when they see things failing. We have many serious questions to address, and they must be addressed now. What is destroying our younger generations? Who is doing this? Who is responsible? Who is killing American pride, American culture, and our love of country? Why are they doing it? How do we stop them? My personal observation over time has exposed what I consider a significant change in the meaning of racism. It's no longer just the color of your skin, but it can be about dividing us on anything that makes us different. This is a profound and disgusting artificial construction of racism for those who would make themselves the elite, put themselves in charge of all of us. The purpose of educating our children is to help them become critical thinkers by providing them with the tools for success. Critical theory is the opposite of critical thinking and teaches our children to rely on someone else's critical thinking. Okay? Marxism pushes for state-controlled education and thus a central point for indoctrination. Can you see what this 1960s critical theory gave birth to? It opened up Pandora's box for them. Full camouflage for Marxism followed by an upgrade in the vein of 1980s critical race theory. I will note there's a direct connection between critical race theory and Black Lives Matter. Those founders, through their simple public statements, claiming that they are trained Marxists. Wow. They're admitting the truth to all of us. There was a time we knew that the word racism meant the belief that race accounts for differences in human character or ability, and that a particular race is superior to others. Racism? Okay. By this part of the definition, those who subscribe to critical race theory, by claiming that all of the white race are supremacists, they themselves are actually the racists. And it doesn't matter what the color of their skin. It has more to do with their agenda. And that's where we all come in. Racism is further defined as discrimination or prejudice based on race. Now, that one is kind of fundamental. Most all of us really get that. We understand it. We can relate to that. It's simple and it's to the point. It is further defined as a belief that each race has distinct and intrinsic attributes. Okay, that almost sounds positive, okay? We're all a little different. We have something to contribute. Each of us has our own genetic makeup, which guide, expand, limit, and even direct our life paths. But ultimately, we each make our own choices, sometimes in defiance of our limitations. We've seen that with speakers here. They told you what their limitations were, and you know what? They rose to the occasion. So that, to me, is an amplified element that makes up America for all Americans, as we all have endless opportunities to improve our station. The pursuit of happiness, not the guarantee of happiness. That special element of fight against the dying of the light is the core to freedom and liberty for everyone, no matter the color of your skin. Now, no baseline definition of racism would imply or support that any race is limited in their potential. That comes from individuals. Think of how many times someone has told you that you will never succeed or accomplish something. Anybody? Anybody experience that? Should be everybody. For those who prove them wrong, congratulations. Thank you. For those who believe them, better luck next time, and don't listen to those people, okay? In my travels, I've met brilliant, kind, capable, and wonderful people of many races, creeds, and colors. And I've met in lesser numbers their polar opposites. That's a good thing, but they're still there. This is the world that we find ourselves in. We are all different, but I believe we are similar in all the ways that really count, that really matter. We seek equality and justice. Most importantly, we are human and should protect each other. That is a baseline thing that it transcends being an Oregonian, being American. We're all human. We're truly in this together, whether you believe it or know it or not. Critical race theory is not just for college, the mainstream media, state agencies, but it has fully infiltrated and permeated our public education system. Marxist indoctrination to destroy the family unit, to destroy national pride, to destroy our freedom and liberty under the flag of critical race theory, all while creating the appearance that will make all things better. It's really kind of interesting that it has to destroy so much first. Have you noticed that? Oh, yes. So critical race theory adds race to the tenets of Marxism. It was born in the early 80s at Harvard University by a conference of law professors and students, copycats of Orwellian newspeak and groupthink. As you may know, the book by George Orwell, 1984, was a warning to all of us about the dangers of totalitarianism and further warned against a world governed by propaganda, surveillance, and censorship. Basically, modern China. Basically, the United States of America. Whoa, how did that happen? Tell you how it happened. CNN, MSNBC, Google, Twitter, Facebook, etc. They provide the very same thing. How did it all happen? Complacency. This Harvard conference identified whiteness as the original and irredeemable sin. All races and cultures throughout history on our planet have experienced or contributed to real oppression, or both. Slavery was not solely experienced by Africans shipped to the New World. The Irish, the Chinese, the French Acadians, which you know as Cajuns. Yes, even my ancestors were slaves in America. And they lived side by side, worked side by side with African slaves. Common ground is what trumps all racism. And that has to be our focus. Critical race theory does not seek common ground, equality, or justice. Instead, it categorizes people and proposes a divided and competitive environment, kind of like a MMA octagon situation, okay, where they are the spectators. And this is where they have the individuals constantly do battle. Now, Karl Marx, who didn't work a day in his life, apparently he's pretty proud of this too, pushed the oppressed workers versus the oppressive capitalists, pushed them to fight, thus creating more division and animus between them, creating class division and warfare. He was never in the fight, like work. He wasn't in the work. He watched from the sidelines and egged on the players and referees. Marx effectively created a form of racism where there was little to none. Sure, racism exists, but not as they try and convince you that it exists. Competitiveness exists, but that's part of being human and has nothing to do with race. Equal opportunity, not equal results. In support of critical race theory, they created these various terms and phrases, and we've seen a bunch of them today, such as systemic racism, cancel culture, microaggressions, white privilege, and intersectionality. These are all created and they're used indiscriminately. If they are failing or losing an argument, boom. Those are their little keywords, their fallback positions. These are just more tools to affect the manipulation of the masses into further division and chaos, often through manufactured guilt. Actually, I'm going to say most of it is that. The best part is the flexibility of critical race theory. Unlimited categories of division: gender, religion, class, disability, education, physical appearance, if you can touch your tongue to your nose or not, and your height. So petty and counterproductive for the unity of the human race. Convincing us as individuals that we are all oppressed and somehow it is the fault of whoever the elite want to attack today to further their greedy ambitions. However, I feel pretty oppressed under the current unjustified lockdown, and there are a few people to blame. But who has borne the worst part of this oppression for all? Our children. We as grown adults, the bears, the lions, we must stand up united to fight lockdowns, masks, and critical race theory. This is just a simple truth. There's nothing complex or flashy about it. Now, warning, those who do not subscribe to critical race theory will be attacked as enemies in this fake fight to defeat what they refer to as systemic racism. You and I will be called racists. They will oppress you, but not let you say you're being oppressed. That's how this works for them. And the kicker is, we've been letting them do it. You gotta step up. How do you deal with a bully? I'll tell you what you do. You put them on their backside, metaphorically. On intersectionality, you'll find a hard-left academic theory to support critical race theory that reduces people to a network of racial, gender, and sexual orientation identities, along with the complex ways they merge. Actually, the goal is to collide, creating friction and division between children and their parents. Not to mention the further manipulation by labeling as an oppressor or oppressed. We see this in child sexual education, which is heavily influenced by our own governor, to the detriment of our school-aged children. To me, this is a criminal act. And one day, I believe justice will find its way. So, rooted in Marxism, critical race theory does not seek equality, but it will assign oppressor and oppressed status based on your skin color or whatever category is convenient in the moment. The reality is that everyone is not oppressed. Racism is not systemic here in Oregon or America or the world. It exists, but not as they claim it does. They're trying to make all of us, we're racist because we oppose their agenda. And we've seen their plan. We know where they're headed. We know what they planned this. This isn't random. We, as a unified people with a multitude of differences, must come together in what makes us equal, our humanity. Our tenacious search for truth and answers to our greatest issues. Our ambition for peace and the pursuit of happiness. All of which are being impeded by what amounts to me as evil. We must deny those who would drive the claims of systemic racism, white privilege, and intersectionality. We must stand together as we educate ourselves with an open and honest mind through interaction and goodwill. I know that's a tough one sometimes, guys, because believe me, there are people that really deserve way more than we give them. Racism exists. It is bad. It's wrong. But it's being used to amplified to create a new form of racism against all people, using endless combinations of differences as needed. We must not participate in such ill will against others, even if we disagree on a subject or issue. But we can stand our ground. Matter of fact, I recommend when you draw the line in the sand, draw it behind them and point it out. We also must not bow down and allow evil individuals to subjugate our populations, to elevate themselves in their quest for power and control of the masses. Live and let live and love your neighbors yourself is not their position. But it's ours. What is destroying our younger generations? Marxist, communist, and socialist indoctrination. And that's what all this is. Who is doing this? Foreign communist entities, teachers' unions, school boards, teachers, counselors, health organizations. But we can do something, can't we? Who is responsible? We are. We have become too trusting and complacent as we trusted people who obviously can't be trusted. We elect people we don't even know who they really are. That's a problem. Those that we trusted, they're weak-minded people who themselves have been manipulated into violating our children for money, agenda, or both. Who's killing American pride, American culture, and our love of country? Marxist supporters who seek to enjoy communism while we all suffer socialism. That's how that works. Nobody ever reaches all communism. It will never happen. Why are they doing it? Because it provides them power, control, and fulfills their own racist agenda. That's the truth. How do we stop them? We've already heard a few ways how we can stop them. First, the will to do it loaded with conviction and knowledge. That's why we're all here today. Knowledge. We seek knowledge. We take back the school boards. That's the single biggest thing I think we can do. And we need good people to run for office. We take back the city councils, county commissioner seats, the legislature. But we're not doing it for any party. We're doing it for we the people, as it was originally intended. We keep our eyes open. We educate ourselves and provide our families with the best defense to protect our liberties and freedoms. We get back to the basics and fundamentals of American education. Our children must learn the Constitution, the Bill of Rights, and our history, including the good, the bad, and the ugly. It exists. We have to embrace it so as not to repeat it. We will not end free speech. That's what Marxists do. We will not burn books or destroy history that doesn't suit us. That's what Marxists do. We continue to unite and not let anyone divide us. We call out those who attempt to divide us and rewrite our history. We stand our ground, and we recover the ground that's been lost. That is our obligation, at least for the children. As a kid, I hated history. I just didn't get why we wasted our time learning it. It's done. It's gone. We learn it so as not to repeat the failures. It's so simple. But I don't ever recall any history teacher telling me that simple, small sentence. We learn history so as not to repeat the failures. Well, communism and Marxism has failed everywhere, so we don't need to do that again, right? No one wants to fail, especially those who have failed. The truth is we all fall short through our life, but with America, we get the option to pursue happiness and success, however you might measure that. And that starts with us as individuals, and that is where true racism can begin or end. Public school Marxist indoctrination is creating racists. Our children are being taught to fight their racist parents, their racist country, and punish their racist self by embracing a self-hating attitude that is repaired by rejecting their whiteness and being less white. This is absolutely insane. These are the lies our children are hearing daily, and we have an absolute and moral obligation to correct this. Leftism doesn't seek long-term truth, good, or justice. Its goal is to subjugate the other as a means of overthrowing an existing structure, especially a successful one. Once they've accomplished this, the leaders of the revolution will find someone new to rule over, and they may actually turn in on themselves. Leftist doctrine needs to be left on the waste pile of history, but not forgotten. I will do my part, and I hope you will too. So, presidents step up too every once in a while. There was a presidential executive order issued, and it stated, the president and his administration are fully committed to the fair and equal treatment of all individuals in the United States. The president has a proven track record of standing for those whose voice has long been ignored and who have failed to benefit from all our country has to offer. And he intends to continue to support all Americans, regardless of race, religion, or creed. The divisive, false, and demeaning propaganda of the critical race theory movement is contrary to all we stand for as Americans and should have no place in the federal government. End quote. I would add that critical race theory and diversity training has no place in education, business, or the law, except to protect against its application. The idea is that critical race theory, diversity training, the 1619 Project, will somehow reckon the racist past in American history. This is all smoke and mirrors. They claim to be addressing the past, when in fact, the present and future is being convicted of inequities firmly rooted in the past. Critical race theory is divisive and un-American propaganda in support of a Marxist communist agenda. Make no mistake, it is intentional, and it has been growing unchecked for a very long time. I'll leave you with a final thought. I grew up learning that America was a big melting pot. I'm sure many of you heard that a long time ago. But then I was taught that it was more like a very diverse salad. As a Cajun who likes to cook, I figured out it's actually both. As groups and individuals connect, we find some blending and some seasoning added to all of us. America is the pot, the good pot, the big pot, the one that covers 2 burners. So as the butter melts, we add the onion, as we say, the onion, the bell pepper, the celery. We work in the evenly cooked roux, some chicken broth. Then come the seasonings. And finally, you got your seasoned crab tails, crawfish tails, crab, and shrimp. Then you let it all mingle on a low heat. You prep the rice with a little salt, a little love. Individually, each component is good. But working together makes them all great. I guarantee. And should there be leftovers, well, that just tastes even better the next day. So, please, take the time to research, educate yourselves, so that you too can be properly armed to handle the evil in our world. Start with your children, your family, your town, your county, your state. If we each do our part, as they say, many hands make light work. That which is honest and good. Everyone wins, even those who started on the wrong side of this. To fight prejudice, we should build the conversation around freedom, truth, what is good, and the inherent dignity of every individual. That makes for some good interaction and a human population that I'm happy to be counted among. So, thank you. I'm Paul Romero. And as they say, lazele bon temps roule. Let the good times roll.
Thank you for watching the Northwest Safe Schools Summit. As you can see, attendees were informed, inspired, and motivated to take action. We partnered with several groups, including Quella Winery, Oregonians for Fair Elections, Western Liberty Network, Pacific Justice Institute, Building Education for Students Together, and KSLM Radio. We are happy you decided to learn more about the issues in K-12 public schools today. It just makes sense. Activism can be enjoyable when you are surrounded with like-minded people. And together, we win. We invite you to visit our website, parentsrightsined.org. Take a look around. There are issues pages just for our state chapters because state laws are different. Join us. Make your voice heard. Is always best when you are with others. Submit the online chapter form. You will also be added to our email list. We help with training, information, branding, and contacts. Like us on Facebook. For the most current news, follow us, comment, and of course, share. Join a pre-Facebook group in your state or local school district. Subscribe to the podcasts, Parents' Rights Now. These are not meant to be entertaining, but provide valuable information, catching you up on the issues quickly. Would you like to help us? Our mission is possible. We've created a great program equipping parents and citizens with the tools they need to be effective in their local school districts. Join the 12 by 12 Club, our small monthly giving program. All donations are important and appreciated, but we know that you have expenses and family obligations, especially if you're a parent. You can do the most by giving a small amount every month. Just $12 a month will go towards our operational expenses and allow PRE to host another summit. Parents' Rights in Education is a tax-deductible 501c3 organization. Donate online or send a check to the address shown here. We are engaged in a war for the hearts and minds of our children. The left has taken control of the K-12 government school bureaucracy, using local public schools for distribution centers to change the culture. Their ultimate goal is to annihilate the constitutional republic of the United States by dismantling the nuclear family and destroying the Christian church. Your contributions are more necessary now than they have ever been.